The critical path method. In construction, time is money, but it's also momentum, morale, and management all wrapped into one. When I talk about the critical path method, or what we commonly refer to as the CPM, I'm not just talking about scheduling tool. I'm talking about a way of thinking, a leadership mindset that separates the chaos of reaction from the calm control of direction. Every project we build has a heartbeat, a rhythm of tasks, crews, materials, inspections, and decisions. CPM is how we find that rhythm, organize it, put it in the correct order, track it, and keep it from skipping a beat. Without it, we're just swinging hammers in the dark, hoping the project finishes before the budget flatlines. So let's unpack what the critical path method really is, why it matters, how to use it effectively, and what to do when things start slipping. Because if there's anything we know about construction, it is that we know it will. Let's start at the foundation. The critical path method is a project scheduling technique used to determine the longest chain of dependent activities. Dependent activities are those that are required to complete the next task, with each activity holding no float or contingency, meaning that there is no safety net or wiggle room. This creates a sequence of activities that constitute the shortest possible duration to complete the entire project within the contractual start and finish dates. That's right. Longest path equals shortest duration. So I know it sounds backwards, but it really is not. Think of it this way. On every project, some activities can run in parallel, while others must happen in sequence, or what I like to call the order of precedence. You can't paint the walls before framing them, and you can't hang drywall before the electrician inspection. The critical path shows which tasks can be delayed without delaying the entire project. Each activity has 3 time frames that you really should pay attention to. First is going to be early start, which is the soonest an activity can begin. Then we're going to have late start, and this is going to be the latest that an activity can begin without impacting the overall project finish date. Float, which some people also refer to as slack, is going to be the wiggle room or difference between the two, between early start and late start. So when float is 0, the activity is critical. It's on the path that dictates project completion. Delay that task and you delay the entire job. So this is what is going to be our critical path. I like to say that the critical path is your project's spinal cord. So every muscle, every crew, every material and piece of equipment connects to it. If the spine takes a hit, the whole body suffers. Now, let's talk about why CPM isn't just a fancy Gantt chart and colorful bars. It is a leadership instrument. In construction, you're managing hundreds of moving parts. Subcontractors, suppliers, inspectors, change orders, weather delays, owner requests, you name it. Without CPM, you're guessing which delays are recoverable and which will be catastrophic. CPM gives you visibility. It shows where you truly stand, what's at risk, and what can wait. You stop managing based on noise or reaction, and you start managing based on data. Let's walk through an example. Say you're building a mid-sized commercial building. You've got structural steel, MEP rough-in, drywall, finishes. They're all stacked like dominoes. Each subcontractor is on the starting line waiting for the one before them to complete their work so they can jump in and finish strong into the winner's circle. If your steel delivery is late by 3 days, your instinct might be to panic. But if the CPM shows you've got 4 days of float before the steel delay impacts the concrete topping slab, you can breathe maybe a little easy knowing that you have 1 day and that you can then plan and move resources around efficiently. It's not just about identifying problems, it's about prioritizing solutions. And here's the thing, CPM teaches accountability. Every subcontractor can see how their tasks connect to others, predecessors and successors. This is terminology that we're going to use to be able to define what happens before and what happens after our task. It changes the conversation from why are you late to here's where your work impacts the project completion. Suddenly, everyone becomes more aware of their role in the chain of success. Creating a CPM schedule isn't a one and done task. It's a living, breathing process. It starts with breaking the project into manageable activities, work packages that represent physical, measurable progress, and creates the spine of the project, or in construction terms, a baseline. First, every task needed to complete the job needs to be listed. Then determine the logical relationships, which tasks must precede or follow the others. These relationships fall into categories. So the categories that we're going to be talking about are a finish to start, which is the most commonly used in construction. You can't start activity B until activity A finishes. Then we have what is a start to start, where B can start once A has started. And then we have finish to finish, where both activity A and B must finish together. Start to finish is rare, but it means one cannot finish until the next one starts. This process of identifying relationships often is a concurrent practice with identifying the amount of time or durations you need to assign to each task. This can often be a sticking point, mostly because of the complexity of the contractual delivery methods and the fight for float. Delivery methods will struggle with comprehension of the order of precedence of work and who gets to drive that. The most straightforward way to handle this is to identify activities, assign reasonable durations for each activity, and then begin negotiating with subcontractors, leaning on their experience of the most efficient and productive way for them to complete their work. Once these relationships are established, durations assigned to each activity, then the team needs to consider other influences like complexity of scope of work or timing, necessary skilled workforce required to perform the work, productivity rates, crew sizes, and resource availability. Then run the calculations between the contractual start and finish dates, doing a forward and backward pass to identify your critical path, the sequence with zero float. The CPM is critical and often dictated by a red line running from commencement to completion of your project. When you see that red line running through your schedule, that is your lifeline. That's where your leadership lives. Now, the trick isn't just building the CPM. It's also maintaining it. The schedule must evolve as the project evolves. But let me be clear, updating the schedule does not mean changing everything. You also have to remember, this is a tracking document telling the story of the project. Working your modifications in while maintaining the baseline schedule helps you see what has contributed to delays, cost impacts, and efficiencies, all while keeping an eye on activities downstream to ensure that they're not being inadvertently affected by current updates. Material delays, design changes, or weather interruptions can shift the critical path from one trade to another in a single week. I've seen electrical work suddenly become critical when conduit delays stack up behind walls that were about to close. If you're not updating your schedule, you're really just guessing and managing ghosts. That's why I tell my teams the CPM is a forecast of what might happen, not a prediction of what will happen. You don't write it in stone, you review it, adjust it, and communicate it every week, not just when you see a problem. Now, that's project control. A CPM schedule only becomes powerful when it's used daily, not as a report for executives, but as a roadmap for the field. Here's how it works in practice. At the start of a job, you walk the project with your superintendent, foreman, and key subcontractors. Together, you align the baseline schedule with real-world sequences. You don't want a planner who's never been on a muddy site dictating logic that doesn't match how the job is actually built. Align it early, and most importantly, involve the key team members into collaboration that gets buy-in from all those who are going to be working and completing the project. Then as work progresses, you hold weekly coordination meetings, not to assign blame, but to align progress with plan. You update percent completes, record actual start and finish dates, and see where float is shrinking. I personally rely on my most favorite tool in the construction industry, which is a 3-week look ahead. This is where leadership steps in. CPM isn't just math, it's project psychology. When you present updates visually, showing teams how their performance affects others, it motivates action. The framing crew doesn't just see numbers, they see the domino effect of missing their window and the potential for blowback if they don't meet their commitments. Or back charges is the other thing that we sometimes call it. I call it construction storytelling. You take a technical schedule and you turn it into a shared narrative everyone understands. You build buy-in and you document the historical map of the project's progress. As you track, you'll start noticing patterns. Maybe the HVAC rough-in always slips a few days behind framing because access is tight. That's data for your next project, what we call lessons learned. CPM creates a loop of continuous opportunity for improvement if you use it right. But let's be clear, CPM is not a substitute for boots on the ground awareness. You can't manage a project from behind a computer screen. The schedule guides you, keeping expectations and boundaries between the guardrails, but your instincts and perspective as a builder will be what is interpreting it. When the field reports don't match the plan, it's your responsibility to reconcile the two. Data without context is just numbers. A single activity cannot say everything it needs to in order to understand everything that is being impacted on the project. I've seen CPMs used brilliantly, and I've seen it used as a doorstop. The difference comes down to discipline and communication. One major pitfall is over complexity. If your schedule looks like a map of Einstein, nobody's reading it. Break it down into digestible phases. mobilization, structure, enclosure, exterior interior, closeout. Within each of these categories, it shows the master plan through phases, milestones, activities, and relationships. Remember, the schedule is a tool for communication, not confusion. Another mistake is forgetting resource logic. You might have two tasks that can run concurrently on paper, but in the field, they're fighting for the same crane or laydown area. The computer doesn't know that, but you do. Always sanity. Check your logic with field conditions. Then there's the issue of updating frequency. Some managers update their schedules monthly with payment, which is like trying to steer a truck using a rearview mirror. Weekly updates are ideal. The 3-week look ahead at coordination meetings, daily if you're deep in a fast track project. The sooner you catch the slippage, the easier it will be to recover. And please don't treat the schedule as a weapon. The minute you use it to punish a subcontractor, they'll stop collaborating. So use it as a shared accountability tool, a common language that aligns everyone toward the same completion date. Look, we all are here to turn a profit and leave a project that adds to our legacy. No project ever goes exactly according to plan. The weather shifts, inspectors get delayed, the owner changes a wall layout after framing. It happens. The real test of leadership is recognizing the signs of slippage early and responding strategically. Here's what I look for. If I start seeing multiple activities consuming their float faster than expected, then that's a red flag. It means your flexibility is disappearing. Or if I notice that work on the critical path isn't advancing at the planned rate, say concrete pours are finishing 2 days late every week, it's time to intervene before that pattern becomes a trend that snowballs. Sometimes it's not even about time, it's about behavior. If I notice that coordination meetings turn into finger pointing and blame sessions, or that the field crew stops referencing the schedule altogether, it usually means people have lost trust. And when the team stops believing in the plan, the project drifts into chaos. That's when you step in as the construction manager and realign everyone around facts and focus. Remember, leadership isn't about knowing everything or telling everyone what to do. It's about helping others see clearly through evidence and historical storytelling. So, what do you do when the schedule starts slipping? First, don't panic. A late activity doesn't mean a late project. It just means you've got a problem to solve. You're a builder. Solving problems is literally what we do. This is why, as construction managers, we are looking for the problems before they happen, creating contingency plans around industry common issues, identifying potential complexities within the specific projects that we're working on. This starts by identifying where the delay is happening and why. Is it a trade performance issue, a material delay, a sequencing problem? Make sure that you're getting specific. You can't fix what you can't define. Once you know the cause, evaluate your recovery options. And here are some of my go-to strategies. Number 1, resequence the work. If certain areas or floors are ready ahead of others, then shift crews to work where they can make progress while waiting on the delayed materials. You'd be surprised how much time you can recover with smart sequencing. There's adding resources. Sometimes it's as simple as bringing in an additional crew or extending shifts. But use caution. Adding manpower without coordination can cause congestion, safety hazards, or even rework. Measure twice before you throw more bodies on it. Fast track critical tasks. So overlap design, procurement, and construction phases when it's safe and logical. For instance, start rough-in before all finishes are finalized if you know the layout won't change. Controlled fast tracking requires experience, but it can save weeks. Work overtime strategically. This one's tricky. It boosts short-term output, but can lead to burnout, mistakes, and cost overruns. Use it sparingly and only on activities that directly impact the critical path. Negotiate float sharing. If another trade has non-critical float, you can temporarily borrow time from their schedule with coordination and agreement. Just make sure you communicate the new expectations clearly. And perhaps the most powerful recovery tool, we've already talked about it, communication. When you tell the owner early that you're implementing a recovery plan, they see leadership, not panic. Transparency builds trust. Let's talk about the modern toolbox. Gone are the days of plotting schedules on drafting tables. Today we have software like Primavera P6, Microsoft Project, and Procore Schedule that automate the math and visualize dependencies beautifully. Some even integrate AI predictions, flagging future risks before they happen. But remember, technology amplifies intent. If you don't understand the logic behind a CPM, no software is going to save you. You've got to know why activities connect before you let a program calculate them. Technology supports intuition. It does not replace it. That's why I tell my teams, learn CPM the old school way. Grab a whiteboard, draw your activity boxes, connect the arrows, calculate float manually once or twice. It gives you a feel for time and flow of your project. Once you understand that, software becomes your ally, not a crutch. And let's be honest, AI is the next frontier. Imagine predictive scheduling that warns you a delay is coming before it happens based on historical data. We're not far from that. But whether it's an algorithm or a clipboard, the principle stays the same. Manage your path, manage your project. The result is only as good as the information it's being given. Now, I want to take this conversation a little bit deeper into mindset, because CPM isn't just a project tool, it's a reflection of how we manage our own lives. In construction, we break big, overwhelming projects into smaller, logical steps. That's exactly what life management is. We identify what's critical, what must happen for everything else to succeed, and we allocate our time accordingly. If you spend all of your energy on non-critical tasks, both in life and in construction, your progress is going to stall. Your personal critical path might be health, relationships, or leadership development. If one of those slips, the rest of your life feels delayed. That's why I love teaching CPM. It's a transferable life skill disguised as a project tool. When we're managing projects, we're not just scheduling tasks, we're orchestrating priorities. And learning to identify what's truly critical is how you grow as both a professional and as a person. Let's not forget, the schedule doesn't manage the project. You do. Leadership is the bridge between plan and performance. A well-built CPM can sit in a drawer forever and accomplish nothing without consistent leadership enforcing, communicating, and adjusting it. A great leader uses CPM as a coaching tool. When a foreman struggles, you don't just tell them they're behind, you show them how their work connects to the project's success. This brings ownership to the field. Leadership also means making hard calls. Sometimes recovery requires reassigning crews, confronting underperforming subs, or renegotiating milestones. You can't shy away from those moments. They define your credibility. And most importantly, leadership is about perspective. When a project falls behind, your crew is watching your reaction. If you panic, they are going to panic. If you approach it calmly with a plan, they regain confidence. Your energy sets the tone. Construction management isn't just about concrete and steel, it's about the people. CPM gives us the framework to manage time, but it's our job to manage people's energy within that time. When the project hits a rough patch, and it always will, your team needs both technical direction and emotional leadership. They need someone who sees beyond the Gantt chart and understands the human cost of pressure, not some superintendent who runs on the job site throwing his hard hat with his face beet red and yelling and screaming. Maybe that superintendent's working 12-hour days trying to recover schedule. Maybe a subcontractor is short-staffed. Maybe your project engineer is burning out updated logs. The schedule shows numbers, but leadership reads between the lines. That's why I teach behavior comprehension in every course that I run. When you understand how people operate under stress, you can lead recovery without creating resentment. You turn chaos into collaboration. A successful CPM schedule doesn't just end on time, it builds credibility. Owners, architects, and subcontractors respect leaders who manage schedules proactively. When your project finishes on time, or better yet, early, you've demonstrated reliability. That's the foundation of repeat business. But even if the project finishes late, if you've communicated openly, documented thoroughly, and demonstrated leadership in recovery, your reputation grows stronger, not weaker. Because success in construction isn't perfection, it's progress. It's how well you adapt, how well you lead through certain uncertainty, and how consistently you protect the project's integrity. CPM is the compass that keeps you oriented when the storm hits. So let's summarize this construction. The CPM method is your roadmap. It identifies what's critical, what's flexible, and what's at risk. It's the difference between managing reactively and leading proactively. It's important because it gives you clarity. It shows how one decision today affects the project completion months from now. It creates a shared understanding across trades, improved communication, and prevents unnecessary blame. You use it to manage a project by keeping it alive, updating, communicating, and using it as a decision-making tool every day. When things go wrong, and they will, you use your leadership data and resourcefulness to bring the project back on track. Most of all, CPM is about mindset. It's about thinking like a builder who understands that time is the one resource we can't restock. When we respect time through planning, discipline, and teamwork, we deliver excellence. So next time you look at that red line on your schedule, don't see stress. See strategy. That's your path. Guard it, guide it, and grow from it. Because in the world of construction management, success isn't found in luck. It's built through logic, leadership, and the courage to stay on the critical path.